Hey, hey, can you hear me now?
Yes, can you hear me?
Hey, happy Easter, Gary.
Yeah, got the sun coming in. I like your backdrop there.
Thanks.
Is this going to be too bright?
Oh, not at all.
Okay.
Uh, Let me pin your video so I don't keep switching between mine. And yeah, I pushed the record button too. If that's all right with you.
Yep.
We'll share it with other culinary. No, just for family.
Okay, so I got this vertical. You think that's best for where I'm working here?
Yeah, I like it.
Tilt it down a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. If you bring it down, I can see your bowl. Perfect, perfect.
Okay. So, you ready? I'm going to share with you because a lot of times people have asked about my pizza making stuff. And usually do it on a Sunday. And it's got three parts. In the morning, I make the starter. And I usually like to eat a little after 6. So the process is I make the starter in the morning, about 4 in the afternoon. I finish adding the flour to the dough. You'll understand a little more about that in a minute. I knead it, let it rise, and we're ready to make a pizza a little after 6 in the evening. So the morning part, none of this has to be exact timing or anything, but generally what you're doing with the starter, because I like to incorporate whole wheat flour and some other whole wheat additives I'll explain here in a second. Gives you the fiber you need, and so you don't actually eat as much pizza because you're filled up, because the carbs you're getting are along with fiber, and so it's a healthy thing. So the reason why we're doing a starter, it gives the yeast time to multiply, gives those whole grains time to get hydrated and soften up a little bit. And your bread, if you did what I'm doing without a starter, it wouldn't rise as much because the heaviness. So,
question on the yeast. Yeah, real quick on the yeast. I remember years ago when I was doing something, I fed the yeast with sugar or brown sugar. Or are you going to cover that?
You can. I don't do that. Once they get, the first thing yeast does when it gets rehydrated is multiply. And then, yeah, a pinch of sugar, people do that, but there's going to be sugars they're converting here in the flour, so you really don't need it. I don't use it, but I know people who do. So, lots of different techniques out there.
Good.
Okay, so I'm going to start out with a little over a cup, about a cup and a quarter of warm water. It's important your water is not too cold or too hot. The old trick is, like your body temperature, it should just feel warm on your wrist if you're like using the faucet. It shouldn't be obviously burning on your skin on your wrist, or it shouldn't be too cold. You want it about your body temperature, or even just a little colder.
Yeah,
so
you don't want to kill the yeast, the little guys.
Right. If your water's too hot, you'll kill them, and that's not good. So I poured that into my bowl, and no particular order here. I'm just going to go ahead and put my yeast in because I bake a lot. I buy yeast in these jars. A lot of people who don't bake a lot just buy the little envelopes, and in one of those little packet envelopes is about 2 teaspoons, and that's what this recipe calls for. So you don't have to buy a big thing of yeast like I have. Anyways, I'm going to sprinkle 2 teaspoons into my bowl. And then the flour, we're going to do 1 cup. I buy a whole wheat organic flour, and it's locally milled here in Bellingham at the Fairhaven Flour Mill. But any good whole wheat flour, you can get what are called bread flours, which are a little higher in protein. But depending what your King Arthur's a good off the shelf store brand. So since my measure is a half cup, we're get 2 of those, totaling 1 cup of flour. That's whole wheat flour. The whole purpose of this starter is because we're using whole wheat. And then I do 2 other things. You don't have to do this, but I add a 1/4 cup of wheat bran. That's the outer part of the wheat kernel. Just gives you a little extra. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, yeah, I remember you having that, and that gave it like a unique taste when we were having your pizza, and like you say, it added a lot of fiber.
Yeah, so I'm adding, in this recipe, I'm adding a 1/4 cup of that, and you can get wheat bran, you can buy it in your baking aisle. And if you got a store that's got a bulk section, you can buy it there. So 1/4 cup of that, and then I also add in a wheat germ. That's, you know, that center part of your wheat kernel. This, if you want to buy it and open it, you got to keep it in the refrigerator because it will go rancid. I should smell it to make sure mine hasn't gone rancid. But I add the same amount, 1/4 cup of that. All right, so just to review, we had a cup of whole wheat, 1/4 cup of wheat bran, 1/4 cup of wheat germ, 2 teaspoons of yeast. And we just stir that together, scrape down the sides of the bowl. At this point, you're just trying to get kind of like a smooth, everything incorporated like a smooth, almost like a pancake batter. Scrape down the sides of your bowl, make sure there's no clumps or dry spots in there. And once that is where you need it, and the consistency you can see in there is, like I said, it's just like a thin, almost like reminds me of pancake batter.
Yeah.
If it's too dry, you know, it won't be able to hydrate. So if you're going to air on the side of a little more liquid than what you need. And then what you do is just put a towel over it, keep it someplace, I'd say warm. It's not like you need to go stick it over the heating vent or something like that. But if you got a cooler house, find someplace a little warmer, like maybe on top of your refrigerator or something like that. And it's always recommended keep it out of drafts. And that's just going to sit there. And like I said, the yeast is going to start multiplying, and it'll start breaking down some of the wheat products in there and converting those sugars. And when you come several hours later, like I said, about 4 in the afternoon, and you pick up the bowl and you put it up by your ear, shake it around, you'll hear it popping and fizzing in there because it's fermenting. And that's what we're looking for. So that's the first part. End of video, part 1.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I know we got flour. I like your choices of what you had. Our flour might say self-rising on it, but
you want to avoid self-rising flour. What that is, it has baking powder in it.
Got you. Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah.
I'll probably get all my ingredients in the next day or so. But
yeah, you don't want self-rising. You'll see all-purpose flour. That's a good one. Things you want to, don't buy bleached flour, unbleached flour, whole wheat. And then this afternoon, if you and I are going to do this at 4, do you have time at 4?
Oh, yeah.
This afternoon, what we're going to be adding to it is a little bit of olive oil, salt, and white flour. I don't do 100% whole wheat. That would be too heavy. So what we add to it this afternoon will be a little bit of olive oil, salt, and white flour. And I add a little bit of flavoring to it. I add some garlic powder and a pinch of like Italian seasoning, you know, that oregano, basil mixture.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to do that either. It just gives, you know, the crust a little different taste.
Yeah.
But yeah, there you go.
Perfect. Thanks for doing this, Gary. Yeah, the video worked out real clear. What device are you recording this with?
I'm not recording. You are, I thought.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I mean, your camera's on your phone?
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah, looks good. Looks very good.
I got a little,
Good.
show you my little phone holder I got. I'm gonna take my camera out of, or my phone out of the camera. Excuse me, my phone out of the holder. You still there?
Yeah, you're now it just says iPhone Gary M. It's like you're. I think you accidentally turned your. There you go.
Okay, so I'm gonna, where do I go and make the camera switch around?
Yeah,
Okay, so this little phone holder I got.
check that out. Check that out.
I got these for the professors to use their phones for document cameras or kind of similar to what we're doing. So I just pop that in there.
Man, I'm gonna have to get one of those for my cooking shows. So great, Gary. Thanks for doing it all. I'll see you at 4, and this is wonderful. We'll make it available for the rest of the family.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Talk to you,
Right.
let's say around 4 o'clock.
Very
If it
good.
doesn't work out right then, we can make it another time. Okay,
Okay, bye, Gary.
okay, bye. I'm leaving.
No, me.